Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Arden, and today we're talking about Empyre X-Men number 3. So, for those of you who've been following my review of this particular tie-in, this is my favorite element of Empyre right now. Whereas I've kind of soured on the rest of the series so far. I haven't read the latest issue of Empyre just yet, so we'll have to see. Empyre X-Men has been awesome. And this book tells me a little bit more about the nature of this tie-in that leaves me even more excited about this thing. Because the creative team is once again a different series of writers. Vida Ayala, Zeb Wells, and Ed Brisson write this book. Andrea Braccardo does the artwork, and Nolan Woodard does the coloring. Clayton Cowles does lettering. So that means that effectively the Empyre X-Men crossover series is including just about every creator behind, like, or at least every major figure behind the X-Men line, especially from the writers. So for a story that so far had at least about 7 writers at this point, in addition to whatever contributing notes the editor might have had and the work of the artists, it's remarkably coherent, polished, so fun, and by far my favorite Empyre crossover. I really had liked this thing already, and issue number 3 only strengthens that resolve. So let's go over what's in it a little bit. We start right where we left off last issue. There's a giant plant growth in the middle of Genosha. The vast majority, at least, of the Genoshan mutants killed ages ago have all been resurrected into zombies by Scarlet Witch. The Horticulture, a group of elderly female botanists who have taken issue with the X-Men for effectively ruining their business thanks to their whole Krakoan movement, show up and are fighting kind of alongside but also against the X-Men. Magic summoned demons to the field, and they're just killing everything in sight that isn't a mutant or an old lady, or at least a living mutant or an old lady. And the Kotati are invading as part of Empyre. And that's the chaos we open to. And yet, we also amazingly start off with what you see on this page here, where the Krakoan mutants have summoned every major psychic in their roster and available to the field to basically keep Krakoa's presence there so it can fight the weird plant growth thing, and also just provide this hefty dose of reinforcements against the chaos around the X-Men. So that's what we open up to. And things are pretty awesome from there. The psychics use a sort of delusion to open their way up into the pod thing. Meanwhile, everyone's fighting like crazy, and it's just page after page of chaos. There's one point where like a demon just appears for a panel, and it's just a nice reminder that's like that to me left me going like, oh right, there's a demon, like there's demons in the middle of all of this, and it's well structured chaos where we get a lot of great moments with a bunch of different X-Men characters along with weird characters you might not normally consider, like a zombified exploding boy, a mutant who died during Genosha and has a great moment in this book where he basically makes a deal with Jamie Maddox to slaughter a bunch of Kotati in exchange for being able to eat several deceased duplicates out there, which of course leaves Jamie Maddox a little uncomfortable watching copies of his body being devoured by the zombie, but he comes to terms with it when the zombie horde starts threatening to overwhelm them, and he just summons Deuce to be like, throw body parts at them. This book is full of that sort of top quality humor. Then we get a bunch of stuff just involving random X-Men that just show this huge team working together as one cohesive unit. Magic takes one of the horticulture botanists and brings them on to Krakoa to work with Beast to make a weapon against the Kotati, I believe, and also especially the plant growth thing. And then Nightcrawler teleports that solution onto the field, and they start using squirter guns against the plant growth. Meanwhile, Magic and one of the Stepford Cuckoos is starting to teleport around because Magic's sensing this like psychic energy going on that seems to be the source of power for the zombies. Tevye is saying Marvel zombies versus plant people. Honestly, it's so much bigger than that. Marvel zombies versus plant people versus demons versus Krakoan mutants versus the old ladies. It's like a brilliant setup. So, anyways, all of this is happening. Nightcrawler's like avoiding zombies. We get a lot of just random little moments of different X-Men fighting the zombies and stuff. I think they actually state, yeah, there's like at least 8 teleportations by Magic as she's like kind of pinging the source of this psychic energy, and eventually they find it. And it's actually the staff from way back in issue 1 that Wanda used to resurrect all the mutants. It seems to be powering them, which I also think is an important hint of maybe where this story's going, because without that staff, I don't think these zombie mutants exist, which kind of gives them hope that they aren't stuck this way and they can actually be resurrected on Krakoa. Scarlet Witch is still MIA. Earlier, I had kind of given the Empyre Avengers series, and I guess this series, credit for basically featuring Scarlet Witch in 2 very different roles, but maybe she just abandoned her horrible mistake and went off to go work with the Avengers after this Genosha mess. And if so, woof. Wanda. That is some serious backtracking for that character. Magic is kind of drawn to the staff and its enormous power, takes it, and instantly transforms into a demon. Not exactly her Dark Child form either. She kind of talks about what the staff is, and it's basically this combination of 3 different very powerful relics that can like manipulate and alter reality. Kind of makes sense that that's the sort of thing she would seek out to sort of make amends for the enormous magical damage she did to the mutant race. And that, it didn't work out, but I don't totally fault her for not being able to see all of this stuff, because Ileana essentially gathers the zombies and declares herself the new zombie queen of New Genosha, overwhelmed and consumed by this power. Meanwhile, the mutant zombies, Tobesho is saying really just 4 issues. Yeah, they're making good ground with what they're doing, I'll say that. But and like there's so much more. There's so many X-Men comics, surely they can explore this going forward, but that's a fair point. Anyways, the zombies make it into the pod and infect it with their zombie whatever. Curse, I guess, because it's magical in nature. And the thing is like this giant, literally a giant humanoid plant growth that's now zombified and emerges from the pod. And that's the insanity that we close out another one of these issues. See, it only has 1 book to go, but I think it can pull it off because these last 2 issues have been so jam-packed with cool content. Jamie Maddox doing all these things. I didn't even mention Angel kind of finally snaps out of the weird curse that the weird pheromones that the horticulture put Angel under. And he's like, oh my gosh, you're really old. Like, you shouldn't be out here in the middle of this battle, old. It was just full of a lot of fun, while also, like I said in my review of the last issue, just a blockbuster story for Magic, who's a personal favorite of mine in the world of the X-Men. And it's great to see her in a story where she's just kicking butt. Not only when she becomes like a crazy demon thing, which, is an interesting moment just for this story. I wouldn't put any weight in it being like a permanent thing. Well, I'm not gonna call anything about that. We'll have to see where that goes, but overall it's quite a strong series. It also leaves me hopeful that there's some sort of crossover, because if Zeb Wells is involved with this, then maybe he's aware or at least cares about what's going on with Scarlet Witch in these stories, and it'll sort itself out maybe. We'll have to see. But regardless, if you can't tell, this is a solid recommend, and likely gonna be yet another bright spot in my review of the Empyre stuff, although we'll see, because I haven't read any other Empyre books that have come out this week yet. Though I did pull 2, the Avengers book and the core Empyre book, So we'll have to see what I get out of those. But we kind of do these all in random order. I'm glad this one came out first because it's just so fun. And once again, even though we're transitioning around like different artists and writers and stuff, the art's so good in this book. There's a point where like the psychics are kind of landing on the battlefield, and Quentin Quire, who's just once again a superstar of Krakoan times, which is another reason that I am so fond of like X-Men post House of X. He has this little speech while the rest of the psychics are all being surrounded in like Krakoan based armor that like gives them bark and stuff, and they just charge in with like this amazing shot featuring Sinestro. Um, who else is here? The Stepford Cuckoos, Lady Mastermind. If they get surrounded in armor, it's a little hard to tell. But everyone that appeared in the last book, that's got to be like the Shadow King and one. I don't know. Either way, it's great. It's a lot of fun and features some great characters. Monet kind of is out for the count in this particular book and doesn't quite get to like negotiate with the horticulture as much, but that's because it's magic, like calling shots, telling people what to do. Like not even in the like just giving them orders and kind of keeping the battlefield coherent, while she's actively seeking out this major like point of contention in the battlefield. So it's just a really strong book overall, and I can't recommend it enough. Even if you don't care about Empyre, screw it. I like don't worry about Empyre, like, and you can just enjoy this tie-in on its own. All you need to know is planet people are invading Earth. That's literally it as far as this book's concerned, and it's great otherwise. Like one of the best examples of a tie-in I can think of in recent memory. Going back as far as like War of the Realms or Absolute Carnage. So I guess not that far back, but still, it's just a really effective tie-in. And like I said, given my relatively lackluster view of the most recent direction in Empyre, it's pretty great overall. Tevi was saying I did read Venom and Marauders, and both stories have been tons of fun. Well, that can kind of transition us nicely into what's up next, because next book I'm going to be talking about is Venom, which I don't love. Or, sorry, I was reading Tevia's comment and I screwed myself up there. I really liked Venom. After that, I'm talking about X-Force, and then after that, Marauders. So there's a pretty strong slate of stuff coming up, I'm sure. I haven't read X-Force or Marauders, but that's like our first look at X of Swords, so that will be interesting. They're kind of the Road to X of Swords books. And Tevye was saying, I don't care about Empyre, but this story sounds fun. It's a lot of fun. It's very standalone. It's not anything fancy or anything like that, but it delivers what they promised at the end of issue 1, which is old ladies fighting zombies, fighting aliens. I don't expect that story to be deep. I expect that story to be like a roller coaster. And that's exactly what it is. It's got loops. It makes you go like on the little turny things back and forth. Maybe it throws in a corkscrew, and then you reach the end. It's a very fast read. Like it's a standard comic book length, but I burned through it like that because it was nothing. In terms of like I enjoyed it a great deal, but it was so easy to get through. Just because like it's got that roller coaster pacing to it. So, you know, I've been on the world's longest wooden roller coaster. It's 5 minutes long, but it doesn't feel that way. It only feels like a minute long, and so it does feel longer than a roller coaster. But because it's a roller coaster, it still just goes by quickly, and that's exactly how I feel about this book. Debbie is saying I still need to do my review of Death Metal issue 3 because that story has been freaking insane. Yes, I did pull that, but that's a little farther down in my review schedule. It goes, Venom, X-Force, Marauders, Empyre Avengers, Empyre, The Seven Secrets, Tom Taylor's new series, and Death Metal will close out our week. So you guys can stay tuned for all of that. Thanks for watching. I unfortunately don't think I have enough time to fit in another stream today, So we're going to have probably a very hefty dose of that sort of stuff tomorrow. But thanks for watching, everybody. If you are joining us after the stream, please let me know what you thought of it in the comment section below. And I'll see you guys next time here on Comic Island.